So Albert Breer, senior NFL reporter, Monday Morning Quarterback. By the way, you cover New England like nobody else. I got to start with that. I thought there were large segments of the game they outplayed Philadelphia. I think Mac Jones is the next quarterback. I wish Bill we get out of personnel. They don't need more guards and kickers. I think they're a number one receiver away from being a really, really good football team. Maybe at the trade deadline, there's going to be at the trade deadline because of Caleb Williams, Drake May. I've been told it's going to be a wildly active trade deadline. But what was your interpretation of Eagles without Shane Steichen against the Patriots?
Yeah, it was weird. It was one of those week one games where you almost felt better about the team that lost than you did about the team that won.
Yeah.
You know, you really felt like the Eagles lost to the coordinators. I just felt like they didn't do enough to get the most out of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and certainly Dallas Goedert. You didn't see as many design runs with Jalen Hurts. Now, maybe that's by design early in the year. And then there was a lot of free access on defense where it looked like they were sort of playing off the Patriots a little bit and giving them the underneath stuff. So certainly looks like there's just some coaching stuff that they're going to have to work out there in Philly. And look, that's understandable. They lost both their coordinators. That's going to happen. Yeah, and I think when it comes to the Patriots, like two things really encourage me. Number one, the defense looked as advertised. Like this could be a top 5 defense if a couple things happen. If the edge players play really well, they played really well yesterday. If Christian Gonzalez can be a number one corner and right out of the box, he looks like he's got the capability to do that. So that's number one. And then number two, I'm with you on Mac. Like I thought early in that game, Bill O'Brien had that offense playing with creativity, with innovation, with pace. They leveled off a little bit. They adjusted. They came back at the end of the first half. It looks like Billy O'Brien and Mac Jones are a good fit for each other. And I think what was most encouraging about it, Colin, is going into the season, the Patriots figured their formula is almost going to be like Bill Belichick's Super Bowl 25 game plan, right? They were going to play to the strength of the team, which is the defense, through the running game on offense. And they were going to manage the passing game because they don't have great weapons. Well, yesterday, the Eagles effectively took the running game away, and they were still able to operate the offense at a pretty high level.
Yeah.
And to be able to do that in week one with a new offensive coordinator, with a lot of new pieces, with Juju Smith-Schuster in and out of the lineup, with a couple of rookies playing receiver, I think is a pretty good sign for their progress. So it looks, at least right now on the surface, like Bill O'Brien was a really solid hire. And it looks, at least on the surface, like they've got Mac Jones turned around, which is two pretty big things this early in the year.
Well, I couldn't pick a football game this weekend, but I did say that I feel like with young quarterbacks, you have to you have to give them more support. And I felt going in that Jordan Love had an offensive coach, a better O-line, and a run game that has proven to work. And I feel like with Justin Fields, and I'm not blaming him, but it's just a series of plays. I feel like first drive of the game, Packers, orchestrated touchdown. First drive of the second half, brilliantly orchestrated.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's Justin Fields or the staff, but it feels like it's him having to make great plays. That was my interpretation of what I'm seeing.
And you know what, Colin, look at what the Packers did, right? Like Jordan Love played great, but that game was 7-6 in the second quarter. Like a punt return set up their first touchdown drive. A punt return set up a touchdown drive later in the game. They were able to build Jordan Love up because they didn't ask the world of him. They gave him short fields. There was a pick six at the end of the game to ice it. The defense played really well. So, like within the context of the game, Jordan Love wasn't asked to carry the entire operation. Jordan Love was asked to do his job at a high level and gain confidence over the course of the game. I talked to Matt LaFleur about it. That 4th and 3 where he threw the 35-yard touchdown pass to Aaron Jones on the little choice route there.
Yeah.
Like that was a result of Jordan Love saying, yes, I want to go for it. And then the defensive players coming back and saying, we got your back. So, like, I think the environment that Jordan Love is in right now is a really good one, which is resulting in a really confident young player. With Justin Fields, you look at the investment they made in the receiver position. Chase Claypool doesn't look like he's working out. We'll see on DJ Moore. The investment they made in the offensive line, it didn't look great yesterday. You don't want to freak out after week one, but it just looks like the investments they've made around Justin Fields right now are pretty hit or miss. And if the defense isn't playing well, now you got a real problem because now you got him in a catch-up situation where he doesn't have a ton around him. And that generally has been a recipe for disaster with young quarterbacks. I thought Fields looked pretty good on the one drive to come back there in the second half.
Yeah.
But outside of that, it did feel like he was being asked to do a little bit too much. And seeing that juxtaposition of that versus what Green Bay was doing for Jordan Love, I think really kind of illuminated how you develop a young quarterback and how you don't. And clearly the Bears have to do more to help Fields to get a clear read on who he is as a quarterback.
So it's really such an outlier. Since I was a kid, I don't know who coached before Chuck Noll, but in my lifetime of watching football, which started in the mid-'70s, Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, Mike Tomlin. It is the most loyal franchise in the world, but loyalty can burn you. And they have an offensive coordinator. Pittsburgh can't get the O-line right. They can't. They can't develop a run game. Pickett looked panicked, lost his composure, and Brock Purdy, a seventh-rounder, who just came off elbow surgery, didn't have an off season, looked wonderful. Offensive coach, defensive coach. I wonder do you believe in Pittsburgh? There is a group, there's a simmering pressure for Mike to make changes with his Pittsburgh offensive coordinator spot, in your opinion?
I think this year will tell the tale because they're going to be coming into a critical spot with Kenny Pickett. Now, I would also caution you, Colin, give this time. Like they were 1-6 at one point last year. They finished 8-2 and wound up 9-8 and over 500 again. So I do think that there's that piece of it. The other piece of it, of course, is San Francisco's damn good. I mean, I think we all saw it yesterday. At one point, I think the yardage disparity was 199-1. That's the best roster in the league. They have just flat out dudes everywhere, you know? So I think that's a piece of this. But I mean, yeah, like when you look at where they're going and you look at like where the game's gone on that side of the ball, and then the young players, are they developing? That's going to be kind of the crux of this. Are they doing things that represent where the NFL is going from an offensive perspective? And then how does Najee Harris develop? How does Pat Freiermuth develop? How does George Pickens develop? And most of all, how does Kenny Pickett develop? I don't see the Steelers ever making a change in season, but year 3 is the critical year for a young quarterback, right? Like it's when the Dolphins brought in Mike McDaniel for Tua Tagovailoa. It's when the Patriots brought back Bill O'Brien for Mac Jones. Next year is going to be that critical year for Kenny Pickett. And so certainly it's going to be when they need to get answers on Kenny Pickett. And if they feel like Matt Canada is not the guy to get it done by then I could certainly see ownership saying, it's time for us to make some changes on the staff. Now, that said, again, it's week 1. The Steelers didn't look good early last year. Kenny Pickett is still just a second-year quarterback. It looked great in the preseason. Obviously, it didn't look as good on Sunday. They've got a chance to fix it. Let's see what they do. Okay,
the jaw-dropper of the weekend to me was the Rams housing the Seattle Seahawks. And I mean, Geno Smith, they had 1 first down in the second half. So McVay, Bobby Wagner of the Seahawks said after the game, the Rams are doing all sorts of different stuff with their run game. And I don't want to go too far in the weeds and over everybody's head here, but their run game looked different. Stafford was slinging it. I wish that was the game of the weekend. I don't even know what to make of it. Is that a lasting impression of the Rams better than we thought?
Yeah. Well, let's debunk the dumbest storyline of the offseason first, okay? The Rams were never tanking for Caleb Williams. Not while Sean McVay's there, not while Matthew Stafford's there. It was never happening. And I would say, like, one of the things you got to give Sean McVay a lot of credit for, and one thing that he did this offseason, guys who come from that Shanahan family generally don't hire outside people. They generally feel like you have to come up from the grassroots. You have to learn it at the ground level. If you don't learn it at the ground level, you can't run it. Sean McVay went outside the tree completely this year, and he brought in 2 guys with New England background, and Ryan Wendell coming over from Buffalo, who worked for Brian Daboll and played in New England, and then Nick Caley, who came from the Patriots. Those 2 guys have helped install elements of what New England does. In the run game, that means they're running more gap stuff, and Sean also brought in Mike LaFleur, who'd worked with Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco, obviously had been the coordinator with the Jets. They started to do more gap stuff in San Francisco. So you see more of a power running game now from the Rams. I think that's what you saw yesterday. And then in the passing game, with the Patriot guys in there, the Patriots have always put more on the quarterback. They've always given the quarterback more responsibility, more command at the line, more control. Well, who's that going to help? It's going to help a veteran quarterback like Matthew Stafford. So I think there are subtle things that Sean McVay did with his staff hiring this offseason that has helped them become more diverse in the run game and helped them get more out of Matthew Stafford at his age. And I think you saw it yesterday. Now, the problem is they have 19 rookies on the roster. They're carrying $75 million in dead cap. So you could say eventually it's going to catch up with them because they're going to have depth issues because of what they're doing this year and resetting their salary cap.
Yeah.
But I would never doubt Sean McVay's ability to coach his way out of problems. I think you saw that yesterday. And I think as long as the roster holds up and they stay healthy, they're going to be in good shape to do that for the foreseeable future.
Okay, Jets, Bills tonight. I thought in the offseason, I felt like, boy, this is going to be a lot. The Jets O-line worries me. Game gets closer. I don't know if Dwayne Brown and Mekhi Becton, I don't know where they're at. What is your information on their tackle position? A lot I know about both teams. I know a lot about these teams. Can the Jets just give Aaron time? What is your guess tonight?
My guess is that they lean on the running game a little bit to manage the tackle issue with Dwayne Brown and Mekhi Becton. Obviously, with Brown, it's age, it's injuries. He's coming off of a brutal injury. Like, that was a really bad injury. And I know some people in that building were wowed by the fact that he actually played through having 2 tears in his rotator cuff. Pretty tough guy. And then Mekhi Becton, obviously, the questions surround maturity, reliability, all of that stuff. I think one way that you manage that is you manage it by running the ball. And that's one of the reasons why you bring Dalvin Cook in, because that helps you manage the load on Breece Hall as he's working his way back from the ACL injury. So I could see early in this game, we see the Jets leaning on the running game a little bit. It allows Aaron Rodgers to get comfortable. It allows them to control the pace of the game. And it allows the offensive line to get comfortable. I think it's going to take a little while for the Jets to get things settled up front.
Yeah.
Might be a month, might be 2 months.
Yeah.
But I do think playing a more controlled game is the way to get there. And that Buffalo team, Colin, nobody's really talking about them. And I think there's some feeling inside that place, like, don't forget about us. We're the same team we were a year ago. So I think you and I have talked about that. This was an emotionally worn out team at the end of last year. I think they come out tonight with something to prove.
Can't wait. Albert Breer, Monday Morning Quarterback. Good seeing you, buddy. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.